I'm going to walk you through all these things while I examine and set up a set of drums that recently came into my possession. I'm super excited to set up this drum set because it was my grandfather's first drum set. It's a Gretsch Round Badge from the 1960s, and for the past many years it was sitting in my grandfather's old workshop. Instruments made of wood don't really like weather that much, like hot, cold, or dry, or humid. Any big change in climate is going to make it kind of angry. So to be safe, I shoved it in a humidity closet for a few days, just in case. If the wood is shrinking or if there's any warping, sometimes just humidity can fix that. And if you're bringing an instrument to a really dry climate like Colorado, you definitely want to treat it with some humidity so the wood doesn't just like snap. All right, let's go get the drums. All right, before we start, let's appreciate these drums just a little bit. The Snare was the first drum my grandfather got, so you'll notice that the badge on it is different. That's because it was the badge used in the 50s. He later got the rest of the drum set in 1962, which is why the badge you see on these drums is from the 60s. It's a little bit different. We want to do a visual inspection of the drums, make sure the wood isn't damaged, the wrap isn't damaged, and the hardware is all there. We want to make sure that the hardware is working properly and that your tension rods aren't stuck or dirty or rusty, anything like that. We want to look at the bass drum hoops, check them for any damage, as well as all of the rims on the drums, make sure they're not damaged or warped, bent. Then we want to look inside the drums, make sure that the plies aren't coming apart, there's no signs of water damage, all the hardware is there. So first thing we're going to look for on all the drums is that they have two rims, they have all the tension rods and lugs, and any other sort of mounting hardware is where it's supposed to be. One thing here is we have a Ludwig throw. Now, this snare's from the 50s, so that kind of makes sense to have a replacement on it, and my grandpa probably just threw on whatever he had. But if you're looking at a used drum set and you see a different clutch, that can raise suspicions. Usually it's fine though. So if you do see anything missing, that's a red flag. That's a good sign that the rest of the drums aren't taken care of that well. Sometimes it's not worth the effort if it seems like what's missing is really hard to replace. And like if you don't know what you're doing, a good place to start is look for any holes on the drum set that look like something used to be attached there. Something probably used to be attached there. There's two more things that we really want to look for. One, any damage on the wood, the rims, or the wrap. And two, any damage on the outside hardware. For example, on this side of the drum set, where the rack tom usually sits, we might find some scuffing or damage from where the rim of the rack tom came in contact with the bass. Rub your finger over that spot and look at it, see if you can see or feel anything. Next place you want to look is similar, on the rack tom itself. Imagine how it would be mounted onto the bass drum, and whatever side is facing you, see if there's any marks on the wrap from where the snare drum rim could have came in contact with the shell of the drum. Another place where things might come in contact with each other is on the floor tom. The floor tom sometimes will hit the rim of the bass drum if it's not set up nicely. So I'm going to just look all around the wrap on the floor tom and see if there's any scuffs. Other thing you want to look for with the wrap specifically, if the wrap is coming apart, like if the glue is coming undone, if it's starting to separate. For example, the wrap on this floor tom is starting to separate just a little bit where it comes together. The wrap is in great quality other than that, so I'm going to fix it with glue. Pretty easy. But when you're buying a used set, you might not want to go through the effort of that. Now we want to inspect the bass drum hoops, where we usually put the pedal. So down here I can obviously tell there was a pedal, but it's not very damaged. If the rim isn't very damaged, you're good to go. But if it's all chewed up and kind of falling apart, walk away from it unless you want to buy a new hoop for your bass drum. Also, don't just look at where the pedal would be on the hoop. Feel all around it, just in case they flipped the hoop around a little bit. This hoop is original and it's in great condition, and that's really exciting. Now we're gonna have to take some heads off these drums so we can see the inside. When you're buying a new or used kit, look at the inside. That's really important to do. And if the person you're buying it from doesn't let you take off the head, just don't buy the set. That's not a good sign. So when you're taking the lugs out of a drum, first thing you really want to look for is, are the lugs turning nicely? If they're kind of seized or there's a lot of resistance, that could mean the lug is bent or it's rusted. If it's rusted, that means it was probably never lubed up or it was left out in the weather. These lugs came out super easily, which I'm not surprised because my grandfather was like a craftsman and a drummer. But if they don't come out super easy, start to look at the lugs themselves, see if they're rusty, see if they're in bad condition, see if they're starting to strip. If so, again, like lugs are cheap and fixing that is not hard, but is it worth the effort? So there's a few things we want to look for here. One, are the plies peeling or chipping or pulling apart or anything like that? If they are, that's technically fixable. I've fixed it before, but that is not something that we want to buy. That's like a damaged drum. We also really want to look at the bearing edges. That is all of the outside of the drum, like the ends of the circles. I don't know how to explain that any other way. Feel around it, make sure there's no dents or chips or anything is uneven or strange. This is what your head sits on and pulls tension from. So if it's not even, your head's not going to sit even and it's not going to work right. While it's open though, also check all the hardware inside of it. See if there's any screws or bolts missing or if they're loose. Ooh. That sound of years of tension. The condition of the plies and the wood is good, and the hardware is all there, except for the dampener. I have like 6 extra dampener arms laying around for some reason, so I might replace it, but I don't really ever use it, so I doubt I will. Once you get the rims off the drums, we want to lay them flat and make sure they're not bent or warped. So this rim's good. There's no spaces in between it and the ground. We also must make sure it's not warped in any other way, horizontally. So in this drum, I see no issues with the wood and the wrap. Our bearing edge is in really good shape. The dampener is in here. Looks like there's also a felt strip on the bottom head. All right, so inside of the floor tom, again, the plies are in great condition. There's no sign of damage. And we have both dampening arms for the bottom and the top, which is really cool to see. Something I didn't cover, if you see a repair on a drum, like say it looks like there was a crack or something and it is obviously repaired, I would stay away from that. You don't know how well of a job they did repairing it. Could go at any moment. Too many questions to be answered and you can't trust anybody, so I wouldn't buy that. Well, the only thing left to do is to set it up and play it. I'm stoked. All right, well, I'm about to play this drum set for the first time, and it deserves some jazz, which I haven't done for a long time, but I'm gonna give it a shot with some more instruments and such. Check out my description for links to my website for lessons or Relaxed Velocity merch, and also links to my socials and my music. All right, see ya.